So today we're going to be taking a quick look at what went wrong with the Miami Heat this season in the playoffs and how they can fix that. Make sure you subscribe, like the video if you enjoy it. Let's get talking about it. So the Miami Heat had a pretty disappointing playoffs. I think we can all agree upon that. Losing to the Milwaukee Bucks in 4 games. Game 1 was really competitive, went to double overtime, and after that the Heat just never got close again at all. So what went on for the Miami Heat? For the Miami Heat, they're an interesting case, and I'd say what went on for them is their failure to improve. So if you look at most of the organizations in the East, they all improved externally here through means such as acquiring other players in trades, free agency, such as that. The Milwaukee Bucks' big external improvement was Jrue Holiday. The Nets had technically Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and then in addition to that, they gained James Harden. The 76ers had Seth Curry, who has honestly made a huge difference for them. So lots of external improvements. And while the Heat did make some improvements during free agency, such as signing Mo Harkless, Avery Bradley, nothing like that ever really took off for Miami, with both players ultimately ended up being traded by the deadline. What the Heat gambled on was internal improvement, with players such as Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, all of those younger guys, even KZ Okpala to an extent, all of those younger guys being able to step up and increase their levels. And ultimately just didn't happen for some of them, such as Tyler Hero. Duncan Robinson, his shooting regressed, but overall, as a player, he improved tremendously on defense, playmaking, cutting. Kendrick Nunn, it was just a really interesting case the entire season. But Tyler Hero was the big one for me, and he just did not improve. He scored more points, but he was less efficient, less skilled at shooting. He's never really been an amazing defender, anything like that. So that was clearly a big issue for Miami, was the lack of internal improvement from their organization. So, how can they fix this issue? Well, quite simply, I think they can't. Miami is one piece away. One whale away, in a sense. And rather you want that whale to be Bradley Beal, say, or Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, they need to focus on a player such as that instead of guys like Tyler Hero, keeping them around longer term. Because you have a very limited window in the NBA, and Jimmy Butler will be turning 32 by the time next season starts. And they don't have time to wait for guys like Tyler Hero to develop into a superstar. They need to try and win now, such as by getting a player such as Kawhi Leonard, Bradley Beal, Kyle Lowry. So that's what went wrong for the Heat. Now, is this all Pat Riley's fault? No, he did attempt to fix this with the mid-season trade for Victor Oladipo, in which he exchanged Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, and a first-round pick for Victor Oladipo. Now, in the few games he played with the Heat, Oladipo did not look anything amazing. But there was always the hope that he would increase his skill potential by the time the playoffs rolled around. He gave them a legitimate off-ball threat, in a sense, of his just slashing ability and the hopes that he would eventually recover his 2017-2018 All-Star form. That gamble didn't work out for Miami, however, with him being injured eventually against the Los Angeles Lakers on national television. And they were forced to rely on players such as Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Hero to do what Oladipo should have done. And while some may have risen to the challenge, some did not, and that's what doomed the Heat. In addition to that, the trade of trading Kelly Olynyk away from the Heat. Now, prior to the trade deadline, Kelly Olynyk played bad. And if you look at his time in Houston, you can attribute a lot of it to being the number one guy on that team, pretty much. But at the same time, when you look at past seasons for Kelly Olynyk, he has always traditionally performed better after the All-Star break. And once they traded him away, they really just lacked another big that they could play next to Bam Adebayo. Dwayne Dedmon was a good pickup, but he is not an amazing shooter. He can hit it, but he's not a good shooter. You're not going to have guys running out to contest a Dwayne Dedmon 3. In contrast, Kelly Olynyk is a floor spacer. He is a floor shooter. And at 7 feet tall, he would give the Heat a Twin Towers almost defense, which would have been very useful against the Milwaukee Bucks at times. So what went wrong for the Heat overall? Lack of improvement from the inside, failure to improve outside with the Victor Oladipo trade. And in addition to that, the failure of their youth to improve and just not be able to do anything. I mean, KZ Okpala was supposed to be a major contributor this season, but he never did anything, really. Precious started off getting minutes and ended up on the bench by the end of the season. So, all in all, a very disappointing season for the Heat. But I think they can turn it around this offseason if they sign a guy such as Kawhi Leonard or even Kyle Lowry. That would be huge. Bradley Beal might be available for trade. We don't know yet. And you got to hold on to your chips, you know. You never know when the right player is going to be available for trade. And there might be some guy that we didn't even think of today as being available that might be available pretty soon, such as Damian Lillard, for say. So that's going to be it for today. Make sure you all subscribe if you enjoyed it. I post daily sports videos. Like the video. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you all around.